You might have to rethink that and go for the full Typhoon Championship because you've got the pace to go for it.
Yeah, you're not the first person that said that actually. I think in all honesty, this weekend's gone perfectly for exactly what I wanted to do. I just wanted to home a racecraft and you know, sort of get some of the rust off, and we've done that really well. And we did 2 days of testing, and then I felt like I was on it, and then obviously won the first race in the rain, so we picked up exactly like you said where we left off with the festival. So yeah, I couldn't be more pleased, to be honest.
Well, hopefully we'll see you again soon, but well done, and we'll let you go and celebrate.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Good job. Let's have a chat with Luke Cooper as well. And Luke, of course, already race fresh from Castle Coombe, of course, where you've been doing a couple of good rounds there, and seems to put you in good stead because you've been performing well all weekend, and that's a just reward, isn't it?
Well, the first two races didn't go as well as they could have. That race was a lot better, but we've been struggling a bit in a straight line, and I really needed the toe to kind of keep me going. I tried to work with Rory to break away, but then Alex caught us up, and I tried to work with Alex to break away, but once I dropped out of the toe, I was back in having to defend, but really happy to come away with a podium.
It's nice to have you back in the Championship as well, because of course you've been a regular in the last few years, so you're looking to hopefully do maybe a few more races this year amongst other stuff you're doing?
Yeah, I'm hoping to do the Triple Crown. I don't have the budget to do the whole championship, but yeah, I hope to do Brands and Silverstone.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Brands, and good driving this weekend, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Well done for the Formula 4. They'll be back out next time in Knockhill, just over a month's time, but now it's time for our second modified fourth race up on the formation lap, so over to Andy for the grid.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, 2 more races to go then here today. The Ford Modified Series is out now for its second race of the day. A massive grid of cars, although we might be missing 1 or 2 after a few dropped by the wayside earlier on this morning. But that first race was won eventually by Wayne Crabtree, although it was dominated by Dave Cockle in his Ford Escort Cosworth, which unfortunately slowed and ran into some sort of mechanical issues midway through the race. So Wayne Crabtree took that awesome Ford RS200 to the race victory. As a result then, he lines up on pole for this one with Ashley Shelswell alongside him. There, by the way, is the number 95 of Dave Cockle. So he is out on the grid, but he'll have to start from the back, or towards the back anyway, as we had 26 finishers, so all of the non-finishers start behind them. So Crabtree on pole with Ashley Shelswell alongside. Simon Light and Malcolm Harding make up row 2, ahead of Piers Grange and Pantelis Christoforou, who had a great battle in the earlier race. David Matthias is 7th alongside Paul Neville, whilst Malcolm Wise and Neil Jessup round out the top 10. Terry Davis and Tim Foxlow are on the 6th row, with Tony Paxman and Darren Owen next. Then it's Aaron Tucker and Alex Bohm, with Nigel Craig, Andy Pipe, Mac McCarthy and Chris Baker rounding out the top 20. Then you've got Kevin Hadfield, Daniel Cowan, Jimmy Neophytou and Dave Barrett on the 12th row. Jamie Goff was on the 13th row, and then you start getting into some of those non-finishers from earlier on. Well, Mark Hadfield was a finisher, but then Dave Cockle, Ollie Allen, Chris Dancer, Rory Jose, Tim Sandu, John Edwards-Parton and Jack Gadd were all non-finishers. So some of them will be out there on the grid. We know Dave Cockle is, but there might be 1 or 2 others that don't make it to the start of this one. So the runyourfleet.com pace car moves its way through the final chicane then. The sun is really shining down now on the Donington Park National Circuit as our penultimate race of the weekend is about to get underway. The Ford Modified Series. Wayne Crabtree on the left. The Ford Sierra of Ashley Shelswell to the right-hand side of Shark. Across the line they go. The red lights go out. We're away and racing, and there's nothing stopping Wayne Crabtree getting into Redgate Corner first this time. Had a real fight on his hands against Dave Cockle in the previous race, a fight that he lost actually into turn 1, but he leads them this time around. Lots of different lines being taken. Someone getting the hip and shoulder there. One of the escorts getting eased a bit wide as they went out of Redgate and head down the hill then for the first time. And a challenge for second. That looks like, is that... no, it's not Piers Grange, I think it's Simon Light. No, it's not Simon Light. Malcolm Harding, get there in the end, who I think has moved into second position. So Malcolm Harding then in his Escort Mark II, moving up into P2. Where is Dave Cockle? I was trying to pick him out in the back of the pack, although he's probably already inside the top 20, I'd imagine. We know that Escort is very, very quick. It was just a bit fragile in the earlier race. Keep an eye to 4th position as well, because Simon Light in that Ford Capri arguably should have finished 2nd in the earlier race, but he had a big, big moment up at this corner, Coppice, where he ran wide into the gravel, almost lost control, managed to save it, but lost a few positions that he was never really able to reclaim throughout the rest of the race. But the point is, we know that he's quicker than his current 4th place would suggest. Crabtree then leads them into the chicane, and he's got some company here, hasn't he? Because Malcolm Harding is chasing after him, and actually Malcolm gets a good exit from the chicane. Crabtree, though, just opens the afterburners, and off he disappears into the distance, into Redgate. He will lead the first lap then. It's Harding 2nd. It is Shelswell in 3rd position, with Simon Light in 4th. Piers Grange is 5th ahead of the 87 car, which is next up. That's actually David Matthias. What's happened to Christopher? He's down to 7th. Looking further down the order for Dave Cockle, then the number 95 car is Dave Cockle, 15th place. Wow, 11 places gained on the first lap for Dave Cockle. So see if we can, there he is, coming into shot now. I think the last car in this group, the silver car, dives up the inside, and that's going to be a 12th position gained and probably a 13th before too much longer. So Dave Cockle for the top 10 is an almost certainty. How far up the top 10 he can get, though, awaits to be seen. More battling going on further back here into the old hairpin, but the race leaders are up at Coppice Corner, and now the gap is maybe starting to creep up. So Wayne Crabtree, understandably, because I'd imagine that car is quite a handful on cold tyres, just taking a lap or so to warm himself up, and now he is starting to show the pace that he had in the earlier race. He leads the field down into the chicane. At the end of the opening lap, he was just 3/10 ahead of Malcolm Harding. This time I think it will be a bit more. The real battle that's developing is for second place. Harding under a lot of pressure now from Ashley Shelswell, and Shelswell is alongside and in fact ahead as they cross the start-finish line. So Shelswell moves into second with Harding down to third, although Harding is very, very late on the brakes and goes back up the inside. Fantastic move that. He can't quite get the car stopped though, so Shelswell comes back at him on the exit of the corner, and look at Simon Light in the Capri looking to well and truly make this a three-way fight now. So you've got Sierra ahead of Escort, ahead of Capri, and not far behind this group actually now is the charging Dave Cockle, who just set the fastest lap of the race. 1:15.9 was about 2/10 quicker than the leader, but when you consider the traffic that he's in, look, he's making another move now into the old hairpin. That will be for no, 10th. I think he's already got past Malcolm Wise on this lap, so that's 10th position now for Dave Cockle, and he's the fastest car on track basically. So only a 15-minute race this though. Will he have the time to challenge for a top 5 overall? He's got the speed, but 15 minutes, well 11.5 minutes as we have left now, is going to make that a bit of a tall order. Second place battle then off Coppice Corner, and actually it's the third place that could change here. Simon Light up the inside of Malcolm Harding as they went down the exhibition straight. The leader turns into the chicane. Second is Shelswell. Third will be the Capri. So Simon Light then into third place now, ahead of Malcolm Harding, who was really on his toes at the start of the race, as in fact he was in the earlier race. I seem to recall he gained quite a few places from his starting position in race number 1, because, just trying to remind myself where he started that one. Malcolm Harding, yeah, started 8th, and he was up into about 4th, I think, by the end of lap 1 earlier on this morning as well. So Malcolm Harding, good at the start, but maybe now the true pace of that car starting to show, and he slips down into 4th place. So Wayne Crabtree leads the way then. Ashley Shelswell in second. Third place Simon Light. 4th is Malcolm Harding. 5th for Piers Grange. That's the car that's just gone through shot. 6th place then for Pantelis Christoforou, who got himself back ahead of David Matthias on the previous lap. And Scott Woodwist, this has been another very entertaining start to the race. It's a great grid of cars, but it's really nice to see that the racing is of as high a quality as the cars that are actually out on track.
Absolutely. There's some fantastically prepared machines in here, all of course being 4 bottles, and it's wonderful to see the standard that's been put together with these cars, and it's cars that maybe don't collectively exclusively race this championship, that kind of pop in and kind of do that. And I know they've got some 70 drivers registered for across the season in terms of drivers that want to come in. Of course, we've got about 30, well, we've got 28 of them starting in this race in particular. But of course, I know they've got enough cars to fill effectively 2 grids, which is quite sensational. And I'm sure that we'll see more and more different cars coming through. Now, for the leads I'm watching on the pit straight, Dave Cockle is already coming up to possibly challenge number top 5. Coming across the line, he is now into 5th place, and he keeps on pumping it fast. He's actually did a 1 minute 12.809. Compared to the leader, he's a full 3.6 seconds quicker than Wayne Crabtree. So either Wayne's possibly just thinking it might be one of the easier races he's had, but of course, once he sees that silver Escort on his mirrors, he might want to put his foot down a bit more.
Well, I thought I was going out on a limb to say that he might get a top 5, but now I think anything other than a Dave Cockle victory in this race is going to be a shock, isn't it? Because he's now going up the inside of Malcolm Harding, so that's 4th place now at the old hairpin. I noticed that Simon Light is ahead of Ashley Shelswell as well, so the Capri is now ahead of the Sierra for 2nd, except that's now down to 4th for the Sierra because Dave Cockle whistles past him on the run up the hill. Yes, I know that the car is clearly quicker than those around it, but, you know, Dave is still driving it well, and, you know, just having a quick car is one thing. You've still got to be able to pedal it quickly enough. And, yeah, Dave Cockle's pedalling it quite quickly, isn't he?
Yeah, and some. He's absolutely going for it. The fact he's lapping at least, what, 3.6 to 4 seconds quicker, lap quicker than all the cars in front of him. It's no wonder he's blasting past him as if he's on easy mode in the video game. It's incredible. He's already onto the tail of the Simon Light Capri, and I'm sure he'll get him on the pit straight as it's happening in front of us right now. Yeah, it is, but so he's down to second place already. And you have to bear in mind, Wayne Crabtree, he's only just going into Redgate corner now, so that is essentially the gap now he's got to try and close in is 4.9 seconds. And considering the fact that he was, what's that, 2.6 seconds quicker on that, that suggests I think he might well manage that. And also the fact that Wayne Crabtree set a personal best in that lap 1:15 thinks, oh, crikey, I better get on with this now, because he realises that Dave Cockle probably is charging up behind him. And so it is going to be a battle between RS200 and the Escort. There it is already, that it's already down towards the old hairpin, and he's rolling that gap in of what was 4.9 seconds pretty quickly. So also Simon Light's getting away in third place in the Capri, so it may well be just a bit of a more of a strong out race than we had towards the Wayne Crabtree with a big moment heading into McLean. So he's just feeling the pressure, or just simply just not really getting as much heat to the tyres as he would have done in the first couple of laps. But yeah, Dave Cockle, I think probably is causing Wayne Crabtree to hear the Jaws music, I think, because you can certainly see him coming in his rearview mirrors. But I think it won't be long before he's right on his tail and challenging for the lead. And I think given the fact that he started pretty much towards the back of the grid, I think even though it's quite a quick car, not many people would have originally said that he'd be able to make it that quickly up towards the front. But we've been proved wrong in the past, and he's proving it wrong again. Yeah, that little mistake there for Crabtree, I think, was simply because he could see Cockle coming, and there's just going to be no defence from this, is there? But, of course, Dave led the bulk of race one and then broke down, so that will be a little niggling doubt in the back of his mind, I'm sure. Some of the midfield, or actually tail-end battles, really, here, coming through Starkey's response curve. You've got the little Ford Fiesta there going through, which I think is the ST150 of Daniel Cowan. There are a couple of Fiestas out there. I think number on it, we had Daniel Cowan, I think, running towards the tail end of the field, but because of the multi-class system out there, you'll always have someone to race against, and 96 is an example of that. Nigel Craig running in the B1 category, so that's the same class as, in theory, Malcolm Harding, Piers Grange and Pantelis Christofori towards the very front of the field. But obviously some of the drivers maybe a little bit more experienced than others are able to get a little bit more pace out of their cars, and that all got a bit clumsy through the Robert chicane there, didn't it? Wayne Crabtree then led the previous lap by 1.6 seconds. I'd be amazed if he's still leading at the end of this, the 7th lap. We're not seeing him on the screen, but I'm fairly sure that Wayne Crabtree will have lost the lead by the time they next come into our sight. That three-wide battle into Redgate resolves itself, and actually it's nose to tail for the race lead as they go out of the final corner. So across the start-finish line, we have a battle on our hands now between Wayne Crabtree and Dave Cockle. Cockle has caught the RS200, but hasn't yet found a way through. They were, of course, going to start now really getting into some serious traffic, and in fact I think as they went out of Redgate there might well have been the lead change. That is the 5th place car, isn't it? That is Malcolm Harding, who is just ahead of Piers Grange, but there, look, is Cockle, so he is in front now of Wayne Crabtree. Crabtree put up as much of a defence as he could there, Scott, but there was a real sense of inevitability about that. And he started, what was it, back in 29th position on the grid? Yeah. 29th to the lead in, what, 7... Or it was 7 and a bit laps, which is pretty impressive by many standards. And Crabtree's taking, yeah, that's quite a wide line through the famous corner. Usually people take that because they're struggling with something, but even so, when Wayne Crabtree had him right on his gearbox, he was foot to the floor trying to keep him away from making a move. But it was just the four-wheel drive traction and the push off the corner that Dave Cockle had in terms of the horsepower and torque underneath him in that Ford Escort Cosworth that just simply sent him flying past on the exit and, of course, into the lead. Of course, I think Wayne Crabtree has the advantage of maybe a bit more downforce on him, but just in terms of all-round setup and pace, Dave Cockle's got this car nailed, and he's, of course, been racing it for several years, so he knows it pretty much inside out. And certainly he's making the most of it. Lead gap is already 2.6 seconds, so Crabtree looks fairly secure in second place for the time being. Simon Light's in a very comfortable third place. I think actually Shellswell is trying to push on to catch him. And then behind for 5th place is now Piers Grange. Piers Grange has got past Malcolm Harding. And now we've got Christofori with Dave Mathias on his gearbox. They come down towards Redgate. We're seeing the cars make their way through the curves here. There's Wayne Crabtree in that beautiful RS200, which doesn't have a Ford engine. It has a 2-litre Subaru Boxer engine, so it sounds a bit like a Subaru World Rally car in some cases, but not that that's a bad thing at all, because it's certainly quite an extreme engine for an extreme machine. To come through. There is Dave Cockle trying to continue to extend his lead here. And I remember seeing that car, I think, almost 10 years ago when it was racing in the old BRSCC Euro Sports Salute the Sports Car series, and that was up against a few fairly extreme machines, some Subarus and some Evos, and even a high booster powered Suzuki Cappuccino, which was quite quick. But good to see that car back out racing on a BRSCC race meeting. It's nice to have him back in the paddock. See here, scrap here 171 in one of our Sierras. That's Tucker ahead of the 96 with Craig, and all of them being lapped here by the rapid Dave Cockell with 3.5 minutes to go. And he looks as though, although we said this before in the first race, he's fairly comfortable at this point in time, but given what happened to the car in race 1, let's not count our chickens just yet, because it could still change as we get to the closing stages of this second race of the modified Fords here at Donington.
Yeah, there's still a lot that can go wrong in this race, because mechanical issues are always a slight concern, so too the back markers. Would it be a bad idea to check in maybe with Malcolm Harding, because I think he's just lost a position there to Piers Grange. That would have been 5th place going into Redgate Corner, so they'll be appearing at the top of the Crater Curves any moment. Now Wayne Crabtree at the bottom of the Crater Curves, though, is getting himself into all sorts of trouble with a big moment there. I think he had to go offline to negotiate a back marker, and maybe picked up a bit of dirt on the tyres, and that car, even with all of its fancy aerodynamic bits and pieces and its big fat slick tyres, I don't think it has a huge amount of grip. Well, I think it has, let's rephrase that, I think it has way more power than it has grip, and as soon as he tries to get on the loud pedal with slightly dirty and overheating tyres, he finds that the car is a little bit twitchier than he'd like. But as he goes down the back straight, there, look, is the battle I wanted to see, and this is a real scrap now, because not only is it Malcolm Harding and Piers Grange, but you've also got the 27 car there trying to get at the inside line. That is Pantelis Christoforou, the red machine, and then right behind them is David Matthias in the Ford Sapphire Cosworth. So this is a 4-way scrap here for 5th position. Grange is into 5th place now, but he can't escape, can he?
He can't, and it's incredible to see a trio of very differently prepared Escort Mark IIs battling amongst themselves with that Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth in the mix. So it just shows it doesn't matter the generation. If the car's more sorted, it'll be just as quick as anything else. So good stuff between these four. And that's going to carry on going on for the next couple of laps as they head back down towards Redgate Corner. The order is Grange from Howling from Christoforou, and then David Matthias watching on. It's also a nice battle going on between, I think, Paul Neville and one of the really beautiful looking Zach Speed Escorts in the mix. That's the black, orange, yellow and red car just coming out of the Redgate towards the Crater Curves in a second. But that's Paul Neville, the man who kind of puts everything together for Modified Fords, running in 9th place ahead of the 83 car of Jessup, that being Neil Jessup, and it's one of 2 Zach Speed cars. There it is. And you can see here, slightly different looking car, of course. That's the RS2000 generation Mark II Escort, but it's a beautiful looking car. Another pretty well sorted car, this one number 57 on the grid. This is the Escort Mark I, and that is of Escort Mark I, and that is 57 if I can find it on the list. Can't quite find it on the entry list there for some reason, but unless I'm being completely blind. But that's the car of Paxman battling with number 8 of Owen. And also there is number 16, which is the Escort Mark IV of Baker, which is one of the championship sponsors, which is the MTS Motorsport. But now heading down the hill, what I think should be the final lap of the race is Dave Cockell. I have to say, if you want an award for one of the drives of the day, it's certainly this one, from 29th on the grid to what looks to be an apparent race victory. Seriously impressive, and a seriously impressive car, and of course one that Dave knows inside out, and I think it would take nothing away. Wayne Crabtree certainly fought as hard as he could, but with the car with the pace of Dave Cockell's, he probably wasn't going to hold him back for long.
No, seriously impressive performance in a seriously impressive car, in a field full of seriously impressive cars, to be honest. The Ford Modified Series making its debut with the BRSCC this weekend is a welcome addition to the roster, that's for sure. There goes Tony Paxman in the 57 Mark I Ford Escort. He's just gone a lap down to Dave Cockell, the race leader. He makes his way down the exhibition straight, then into the chicane for what should be the final time. It will be touch and go. No, the time has now ticked down to 0. So Cockell comes through the chicane. Number 95 car then is going to win this time. It didn't win race number 1, but it does take the black and white checkered flag at the end of race number 2. Cockell takes the victory. Wayne Crabtree valiantly fought him off there for as long as he could, but second place was always likely to be as good as it would get for that magnificent RS200. In the background, look, we can see that almighty battle going on between Harding, Grange, Christoforou, and Matthias. Here they come, and that's Grange on the inside line. I think that's a back marker, actually, but that, importantly, is Piers Grange still ahead of Malcolm Harding. Now, what can Christoforou do at the line? Nothing. They're going to stay in the same order. So it's Piers Grange that comes through in 5th, Christoforou in 6th position. Now, hang on. Malcolm Harding... no, Harding lost some ground there, actually, off the last corner, so he must have had a bad exit from the final chicane, because the final order is Grange 5th, Christoforou 6th, Matthias 7th. Harding's been given a time penalty, that's what it is. 5-second time penalty for Malcolm Harding. There is no official message on the timing screen to tell us what that is, but I think we can all guess, can't we? That was probably for exceeding track limits. So class winners, by the way. Cockle wins in Class A, Crabtree wins the Invitational class. Piers Grange, that battle he had with Pantelis Christoforou was of extra significance because it gave him the Class B1 victory. Then in Class B, it was the 83 of Neil Jessup that took the class victory. Class C, meanwhile, won by the 1-2-4 of Alex Bone. I think that's all of the classes. Yes, it is. So they are the class victors, and in a moment we'll be able to run through the full result of the entire grid. Don't go anywhere, one more race still to come here at Donington Park, the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup. This is the result of our second Ford Modified Series race. Dave Cockle wins by nearly 9 seconds over Wayne Crabtree, class winners both of them. Simon Light was third ahead of Ashley Shelswell in fourth, Piers Grange fifth. Pantelis Christoforou was sixth ahead of David Matthias, Malcolm Harding, Neil Jessup, Paul Neville, with Malcolm Wise solid 11th. Tim Fockler was 12th, Terry Davis was 13th, and then one lap down were Jamie Goff, Tony Paxman, Darren Owen, Chris Baker, Ollie Allen, Aaron Tucker, Nigel Craig in 20th position. 21st place went to Andy Pike. Alex Bohm won Class C in 22nd overall. Jack Gadd was 23rd. Jimmy Neofitu was 24th. Mac McCarthy 25th, ahead of Kevin Hadfield, Daniel Cowan and Dave Barrett, with Dave Cockle, unsurprisingly, taking the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 12.809, having started very deep in the field. Well, fantastic addition to the programme, the Ford Modified Series, or Modified Ford Series, I should say, here at Donington Park. And we look forward to having them back again on the BRSCC roster in the very near future. Reminder to those of you who have enjoyed the racing today, and there is still one more race to come, so don't go anywhere just yet. But those who have maybe tuned in today to watch the BRSCC live streaming for the first time, there's plenty more live streaming, a total of 17 events this year being streamed live for you, including, at the end of the year, the world-famous Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch. That's a must-see event towards the end of the year. But the rest of the events, I think all of the Caterham Motorsport Championship events are being live streamed this year. And next week at the Croft Circuit up in Yorkshire, up in the northeast of the country anyway, Darlington way specifically, is also being live streamed. That's our second live stream event of the season, and it's going to be a packed couple of days of racing there. You can tune in on the BRSCC Facebook and YouTube pages to see action from the Mazda MX-5 Championships. Both the Mark 1 and Mark 3 MX-5 Super Cup will be in action. The Nankang Tyre BMW Compact Cup will have another massive grid of drivers set to do battle around Croft. Fans of the Blue Oval should tune in as well, because not only are the BRSCC's Fiesta Junior and Fiesta Senior Championships in action, but also the STXR Challenge for fans of 80s Ford Fiestas and Escorts, as well as the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy, and brand new for 2021, the Mazda MX-5 Mark IV Trophy will be making its first competitive appearance. So this is next Saturday and Sunday at Croft. Do tune in on the BRSCC social media pages to see all of the action. So I don't think we're going to be able to actually have a word with our top three drivers from the Modified Ford Series, because they've all driven straight past our pit camera there and headed back into the paddock. So they're probably eager to get home. I think many of them are based down in the south of the country, so they've got a bit of a drive from Donington Park here in Derby, in the Midlands. But we are very grateful that they made the trip down here, up here I should say, for many of them, to race alongside us. Right then, one more race to go, and it is going to be a good one. I think this is for the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup. Their first race earlier on was brilliant, quite frankly, for a brand new championship. They had a few non-championship races last year, but this year it has taken on full championship status. You have to have a certain number of cars registered for the full season for Motorsport UK to grant you championship status, and for many new series that takes a few years to happen. Not the City Car Cup, because in its first full season of racing, obviously last year was significant significantly reduced because of the COVID pandemic. We have 38 cars, I believe, racing with us here this weekend, and although 1 or 2 dropped by the wayside in the previous race, I'm hoping they'll all be back out there again for this one. If you weren't with us a few hours ago, it was Nick Grindrod that dominated the first race. The cars are all identical in performance, but Nick Grindrod is probably, well, no, definitely the most experienced driver on the grid. So Grindrod dominated the race, but behind him there was lots of action. Stuart Bliss was second and Patrick Booth was third, and in the new racers, or the rookie racers class, Liam Browning and Richard Bliss put on a race-long duel to finish first and second in class. The result of that first race sets the grid for race 2, so let's go through it, shall we? We've got number 22, Nick Grindrod, on the pole position. Second place on the grid alongside him will be Stuart Bliss. Patrick Booth and Duncan Stone make up row number 2 ahead of Tim Evans and Liam Browning, who was the winner of the newcomer racers in the earlier race. Richard Bliss was second in that class, and he lines up next, 7th on the grid alongside Dylan Brooks on the 4th row. Ross McCarr came from the back of the grid, having not qualified earlier on this morning, so he had to start from the back of the grid, the back of a 38 car grid no less, and finished 9th place. That was a remarkable effort, picking up nearly 30 positions, so he could be one for the podium in this one. He's got Martin Piccolo for company on row number 5. Paul Toolan and Simon Toolan were inseparable all race, and they start this one therefore together as well on the 6th row. Andrew Dyer and Doug Harvey are on row 7. Tony Trotter and Jamie Luthwaite are on the 8th row, with William Burgess and John Nicholson on row 9. Richard Snuggs and Adam Reeves round out the top 20 on row number 10. Daniel Selleck and Andrew McKenzie are next, ahead of Elliot Lettis and Craig Flynn. Paul Savage and Ashley Mitchell are on row 13. Then it's Alex Carter and Craig Carter, again 2 family members, finding themselves sharing a row of the grid, this time on row 14, with Gareth Fredrickson and Brandon Savage rounding out the top 30 on the grid. Then you've got Benjamin Bastow and Adam Reynolds, Ben Walkingshaw and Steve Laidlaw. We're now getting into those that had issues in the earlier race. So I'm going to look out the window now as I carry on down the grid and see if these drivers are there. So Steve Laidlaw, the number 100, is there. That's good news. Sam Laidlaw, the 101, is there as well. That's good news. Christopher McKenzie, 777, is pulling into position. David Christie, the yellow car that had an exhaust fall off, or fall loose at least, is there in 37th. And number 19, Joe Graham, I think is that red and black car, isn't it? Yes, I couldn't quite see the number, but it is the number 19 at the back. So hopefully all 38 should start, although having said that, there is a gap, isn't there, alongside Craig Carter. Alex Carter is not where he should be. Oh, he is. He's just lined up a row behind. So Alex Carter, who should start 27th, has lined up in the 29th grid slot, and whether that means that we're missing someone else, I don't think we are, but I think it's messed up the rest of the grid behind him. Anyway, doesn't really matter. As we've made the point, about 2/3 of this grid are rookie racers, so for many of them this is their first ever weekend of racing. Some of them might have made the odd appearance last year, but any car with a yellow square and a black cross on the back of their car, and you can see about 6 or 7 of them just in that picture alone, they are all rookie racers making some of their first steps into motor racing, and this really is one of the best, if not the best place to do that, because as a rookie, in theory, you can enter any club level championship that you want in the UK, but you'll 9 times out of 10 be going up against a field full of drivers who've been doing it a lot longer than you. But the whole point of the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup is that you're supposed to be racing against fellow rookies. There's nothing stopping an experienced racer like Nick Grindrod coming in and showing everyone up and showing everyone how to do it, but generally speaking, if you are a rookie, you should find yourself racing against fellow rookies. So that is certainly the case here with, I can't remember the precise number of rookie drivers, I have been told 22, there we go. Thank you, Scott. 22 rookie drivers on the grid this weekend out of 38. So yeah, about 2/3 or so of the grid are rookies. So through red gate they go on their green flag lap then. Nick Grindrod should win, let's be quite honest, but behind him things are a lot less predictable. Stuart Bliss and Patrick Booth, 2nd and 3rd. They were covered by just 4 seconds at the flag. Patrick Booth might be on his toes here to try and get ahead of Stuart Bliss in the early stages. And that newcomer racing class of Liam Browning and Richard Bliss and Dylan Brooks, those 3 were very close together, especially Browning and Bliss. So I expect that battle to resume, and that's the Citroen of Luke Browning, so Drago of Richard Bliss. If you weren't with us earlier on, we should explain that there are 3 types of car on the grid. You've got the very popular Citroen C1, which does make up the majority of the grid, but then there are also a good number of Toyota Aigos and Peugeot 107s, and I must confess I can spot the Toyota Aigos from a distance, but the Peugeots and Citroens I do struggle with sometimes, but that's because underneath these cars are identical. They share the same chassis, basically everything's the same apart from the headlights and the badge, basically. Apart from that, the cars are near enough identical, and there are already series out there that cater for one-make racing of this sort of ilk, but for multi-car racing and sprint racing at that as well, this is a brand new idea, and for 2021 it looks as though it's going to be a real success. And I must say the driving standards in the earlier race were pretty exemplary as well, which is always a good sign. That's often a concern with especially a new championship and a big grid such as this one. If there are some slightly dodgy driving standards out there, that can sometimes put people off and lead them to walk away just as soon as the championship starts. But I don't think that's going to be the case with the City Car Cup. Everyone seemed happy after their earlier race, and that is exactly what we want to see. So Nick Grindrod then weaving the car around, trying to get some heat into those Nankang tyres. He lines up on the pole position, and he will have Stuart Bliss for company. Patrick Booth and Duncan Stone, remember, make up that second row of the grid. Tim Evans and Liam Browning coming from the third row, and that battle that I keep bigging up, I think he's going to be one to watch. Liam Browning is in the a sort of grey and green number 91 Citroen C1, and then you've got the Auto Bliss Motorsport run grey and orange number 17 of Richard Bliss, who will line up just on the row behind him. It's a 2x2 staggered grid, so very bunched up as they run towards turn one. It made a brilliant sight in the first race as well, as they went 3, 4, even I think 5 wide in the midfield towards that first corner. But we also made the point that these cars are not the biggest, so you can sort of fit quite a few of them across the track. I do hope that some of the drivers that were a bit circumspect in race one haven't now got all confident over the lunch break, and or not the lunch break, but the break they've had between races, and decide to start taking more risks at the start. We want another nice clean start here, please, everybody. One or two, I'm still not convinced, are in exactly the right positions that they should be. Looks as though Andrew McKenzie either isn't there or hasn't lined up where he should on the 11th row of the grid. There's also a gap further back. But it doesn't really matter because the green flag is about to be waved. The final few cars are pulling into a grid slot, even if it's not quite the right one. The green flag is now waved, and Nick Grindrod from pole position tries to make it a double in the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup. The red lights go on for the final time this weekend. We are away and racing at Donington Park. Who gets into Redgate Corner first? It's a pretty even start from both of the front row men, but I think Grindrod will have his nose ahead as they head towards Redgate Corner. Yes, he has his whole car ahead, in fact, allowing Stuart Bliss to pull in behind him. Now, here we go, 2, 3, 4 wide, onto the brakes, through Redgate Corner, throw it in, close your eyes, hope for the best. Do they all get through this time? 1 or 2 running wide. Holding my breath. Yes, they're all through again. Well done. Down through the Craner curves they go for the first time. Dave Christie there gaining some places in the yellow car from the back of the grid. Grindrod then leads the way. Stuart Bliss in second, side by side for third position. Patrick Booth there looks as though he might lose third place if he's not too careful. Down into the old hairpin. Yes, he does. Drops down to fourth position. And again, this is another real pinch point on cold tyres. Easy to lose control down here. But yet again, Scott Woodwist, they're all on their best behaviour.
Yeah, good stuff. That was certainly pleasing, Greg. And unfortunately, we spoke too soon. That is Patrick Booth in the wall, unfortunately. And it looks as though there must have been some contact. I suspect it had something to do with the fact he was going side by side with Duncan Stone on the exit. So unfortunately, one's come to blows. But to be fair, that is the first kind of incident we've had since obviously the first race. So hopefully one out of 40 minutes worth of racing is hopefully quite a good record. But unfortunate for Duncan Stone. Looks like he probably just got caught up, and maybe there was a little bit too of an ambitious move by somebody. But not having caught the start of it, we're not exactly sure who was at fault, if anyone. Out clambers Patrick Booth. He's done a Mansell there, hasn't he? That is pretty much exactly the spot that Nigel Mansell hit all those years ago. Yeah, thankfully the car isn't in as bad condition as Nigel's was back in '93. Car turning out of the final chicane onto the end of the first racing lap. Now, whether that's going to require a safety car given its position, I'm not 100% sure, but Nick Grindrod leads the way then. It's still Stuart Bliss in second place. Duncan Stone is still third. There are yellow flags being held out, and I think possibly even a safety car board, which might suggest that we are going to get an appearance from the RunYourFleet.com safety car. In fact, yes, I can see the safety car boards in the background being waved, and it has now appeared on the timing screen. RunYourFleet.com safety car is deployed for our final race, which is a shame, but obviously it was... I don't mean this disingenuously at all. Obviously, given the fact we had 38 cars on the grid and everyone got through first of all, you did say 1 or 2 drivers might get a little bit more brave in the second race. It seems that that's happened, but I mean it's in a nice way. With this many rookies on the grid and how packed it was, I don't think we were going to totally get away with the whole 2 weekends without something happening, but thankfully it seems as though we got through one race and the first few corners of the second race without something before we hit strife. But that's credit to all the drivers, particularly all the rookies, being able to only get to this point in the start of the second race. We've had actually something that has warranted something along the lines of a safety car. So it might be seen as a negative in some cases, but the positive you can take from it is it's only taken them up towards the beginning of the second race to do it, because the first one was completely, for the most part, clean and tidy and not requiring anything of the sort.
Yeah, there was a bit of concern, wasn't there? Some of the conversations I had this morning, no one quite knew what was going to happen, obviously, but there was a bit of concern that there might be a bit of carnage, just because learning how to be a racing driver ain't easy, and it's really not easy when you're in such a big grid of cars, and a track like Donington, which does produce very close racing, no matter what the category is, there was this worry that there'd be a few mistakes and a few incidents and a few grumpy people at the end of the day, but I don't want to speak too soon because we're not even a quarter of the way through this race yet, but yeah, I think people are a lot less concerned about that now. This is looking like being a really, really good championship, and looking forward to getting this race back underway. In the newcomer racing class, by the way, Browning is still ahead of Bliss. That was the battle I was sort of bigging up before the race, but it is a slight change behind them, isn't it? Because third place in that class in the previous race was Dylan Brooks, and Dylan Brooks is not... he's dropped right down actually to 7th in class, 14th overall for the number 14, so he's been shuffled out, and that's promoted the number 20 of Martin Piccolo into a podium place.
As indeed, and the cars already managed to catch up to the runyourfleet.com safety car. Shout out to them, of course. It's the first weekend we've had it, and again, a massive shout out to runyourfleet.com, not just for providing the safety car, but also as well for support, being one of the sponsors of the City Car Cup Championship. It's great to have them on board. We had the official handover of the car yesterday. It was good to have a couple of representatives from Run Your Fleet down to make that happen. And a big shout out to them, of course, and if you want to check them out, of course, it's runyourfleet.com, and you find them all on social media, and they're one of the leading companies in terms of fleet management when it comes to being a one-stop shop for everything in terms of sort of buying, and it's a sort of leasing and financing a car, and fleet, and all the different telematics that go with it, and risk management and all that sort of stuff. So it means that if you are running a fleet in terms of a company that runs a fleet of cars, you can use them to pretty much make sure that it's all looked after in one place, rather than having to do all the hard legwork for yourself, because Run Your Fleet will do that all for you. So big shout out to them, of course, and it is wonderful to have a BRSCC branded safety car again, because it's back to the days when, old school days, back in places like Brands Hatch and Donington, we had the rather rapid Ford Sierra in the old school days, the branded BRSCC Ford Sierra safety car. So it's nice to have a proper BRSCC safety car again. And again, massive thank you to runyourfeet.com for providing it for the season, for the next 2 seasons as part of the deal. And again, we speak jokingly, the people who want to see it the least are the drivers, of course, but whenever it is out on track, it's a wonderful looking thing, and it just proves that the partnership was certainly a step in the right direction. And again, can't thank them enough, and brilliant to have that car on track and for them to supply it in return for us helping them out to give them some visibility.
Yeah, and if you're going to have a safety car, at least make it a nice car, right? Because no one likes to see the safety car, really. But if you do have to see it, at least make it something that's easy on the eye, and that Jaguar most certainly is. And a good British car as well, which is nice to see for the British Racing and Sports Car Club. There goes the 91 that's leading in the newcomers, Liam Browning. 20 there is the car that's third place in the class. That is Martin Piccolo. With a name like that, really, you feel like he should be a musician maybe, or a chef or something, but racing driver is the path that he's chosen, and he was 4th in class in the earlier race, running 3rd now. As I said, there was some sort of an issue for Dylan Brooks, who was 3rd on the grid in the newcomers for this race, and is down in about 7th place in class after the opening lap. A few of those from the back of the grid made decent progress, I noticed, though. Dave Christie had passed about 4 or 5 cars, including some pretty quick racers, actually. The 101 of Sam Laidlaw he got past. Well, Sam was up inside the top half of the field in the earlier race. We've only lost the 1 car, of course, which is Booth into the pit lane, Patrick Booth, and that now means there's a chance, Scott, that we'll get another new driver on the podium at least, because Patrick was 3rd in the earlier race. So who is the man most likely? I guess obviously the obvious choice is Duncan Stone. He inherits that 3rd place, but 3rd and 4th on back in the previous race was very tight, so that little battle is going to be interesting, isn't it?
It is. I think you have to also throw in a certain Ross McCarr as well, because he sat there currently in 5th position. Of course, started 9th after he started at the back of the grid, 38th, and picked up 29 places. So if that was his pace in a regular 20-minute race, with a shortened one being up towards the front of the grid and having already made up 4 places, including obviously the benefit of his teammate Patrick Booth going off the road, being 5th on the restart, and someone who's very experienced in racing, particularly I know him from his days in MG Cup, and I think he still frequents it every now and again. But to have him in the championship, someone who's experienced as him in front-wheel drive, will certainly mean that he would be putting it all the experience to good use, and he certainly did in race 1. And he was looking to try and make the most of it to hopefully get himself onto the podium if he can, but he's got to get around the likes of Tim Evans, Duncan Stone and Stuart Bliss to even stand a chance at that. And of course then, dare we even suggest he could even get on the tail of Nick Grindrod, but then again I think Nick Grindrod's in that far of a league of his own at the moment that possibly that might be a stretch too far. But never say never, and when we do get back underway racing, which hopefully might even be, I'd like to hope, the end of this lap, we'll be able to get underway. But if that's going to happen, I think everyone's going to have to really bunch up pretty quickly here, because top 5 or 6 have got quite a gap, and then everyone else is kind of having to almost go at full speed to catch them up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Ross McCar's lap times from the early race. Obviously, he spent that entire race in traffic, deep in traffic in the early stages, but he managed a 1:37.6, which was quicker than a few of the drivers ahead of him on the grid. Most of those he's overtaken already. It was about 2 and a bit seconds slower than Nick Grindrod, so I think maybe a race win might be out of the question, but it almost matches the pace set by Stuart Bliss in the previous race, who's running 2nd at the moment. So podium definitely possible for McCar, maybe 2nd place, but he's got some overtaking to do, and of course the closer to the front of the grid you get, the harder the overtakes become, because you're going up against some of the quickest drivers on the track. Leaving the track, thankfully, hopefully for the last time, is the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar safety car. The race then gets back underway. We are just under, halfway through the race, just under 11 minutes left on the clock, and Nick Grindrod then has the lead down into Redgate Corner. 2nd place is Stuart Bliss, 3rd position is Stone, and is anyone going to make a move on the brakes? Anyone feeling brave into Redgate Corner? Well, the answer is no, it seems. Everyone is having a go at setting fastest lap, because of course we haven't yet actually had a full green flag lap of racing, because the safety car was called before the end of lap number 1 through Redgate. Of course, a few of them have lost a bit of tyre temperature now as well, so there's a bit of sliding around going on cold tyres. But hey, if they can manage cold tyres on lap 1 when they're 3 and 4 wide, then a single file safety car restart really shouldn't be such an issue. Grindrod then with the lead, already starting to get away, but we're anticipating some shuffling of the order behind him.
Certainly are. Those top 5 are starting to make a break, and maybe Nick Grindrod might not have it as easy this time as he did before. And I want to stop for a second on the restart, because these cars don't have much horsepower. He was already pretty much at the beginning of the back straight, he was already full on the throttle, pretty much getting the restart underway. But even though he probably was going at full throttle, it wasn't making much difference in terms of the safety car getting away from him. So he is getting away from the leaders now, so it looks like the main battle is going to be this scrap for 2nd place between Stuart Bliss, Duncan Stone and Tim Evans. But Ross McCar should hopefully be a little bit closer, because he's dropped back a little bit from this restart, and these 3 cars are bunched together enough to start working together in the slipstream down towards the Robert chicane. Ross McCar is in a little bit of no man's land, and he might start to come under threat from the novice racer class cars behind. Of course, we've got Liam Browning with Richard Bliss, Martin Piccolo and the Andrew Dyer car, number 15, all in the mix together, and also Paul Toole in there as well. So the top 5 are all together, just there or thereabouts in the rookie category. Let's head down the pit straight, and who else but Nick Grindrod takes the fastest lap of the race. Side by side for 2nd though. Stuart Bliss has the inside line, but Duncan Stone might try and make it a Viking Van Hire Viking Van Breakers 1-2 in that team, because he tries to go for 2nd, but Stuart Bliss holds him off, and the momentum carried by Tim Evans was trying to see him pull his Toyota Aygo alongside the Citroen of Duncan Stone. And now Ross McCar is steadily getting onto the back of this scrap for 2nd, 3rd and 4th in P5, and just behind him of course is the top rookie Liam Browning. He did make a couple of appearances in the non-championship sort of pilot City Car Cup race that we ran last year, and certainly enjoyed getting in the mix and doing his best to try and push on as hard as he can to keep with them and to get away from his fellow rookie drivers. But so far it seems that no matter what anyone does or does in whichever way, there really is just no stopping Nick Grindrod. He just pulls away from the front and see you later.
And it's worth pointing out, because I did see a conversation about this in the YouTube chat earlier on, but Nick Grindrod's car hasn't got 50 horsepower more than everybody else's. It's just he's that much more experienced than everyone else on the grid, and you give him clear track at the front of the field especially, and he's going to be tough to beat. Number 63 there, losing ground. Now this is toward this pointy end. This is for, well, 3rd place now being lost by Stone, so that must have been the 23 of Evans going through on the inside. But look at the momentum that cost them off Coppice Corner, and now you've got some of the rookies getting involved as well, because Liam Browning is a part of this battle, and I think that possibly Richard Bliss is as well. In blissful isolation at the moment is Nick Grindrod out in front. 2nd place is Stuart Bliss, but everyone else trying to be 3rd. It is going to be the 23 of Evans that has 3rd place then, as they come across the start-finish line once again. 4th place now for Stone in the 63. And then it is going to be Richard Bliss, who's got himself ahead of Liam Browning then for the rookie lead, or the newcomer lead, I should say, in that group. So in that melee going through Coppice and down the back straight, he's been able to get the class lead away. The drivers that have sort of turquoisey green numbers next to their names on the scoring pylon, by the way, they are the rookies, and you can really see there just how many of the drivers on this grid are racing rookies. Through Hollywood and the Craner Curves they go then, so it's Toyota that leads the way now in the rookie part of the race, and more importantly, he's got a car between himself, look, and his nearest rookie rival. That is McCarr, who, rather than going forward, is actually starting to slip back now, losing a place from where he restarted.
That just shows the calibre of some of the rookie drivers, because of course Richard Bliss and Liam Browning will have never raced with Ross McCarr before in many cases, but the fact they can actually, in pretty much bang on equal machinery, are able to race with him and actually keep pace and even be quicker than him, which is quite stiff. In fact, Richard Bliss already onto the tail of both Duncan Stone and Tim Evans, and I don't want to speak too soon, but with 6.5 metres to go, are we even going to start talking about the prospect of a rookie getting on the overall podium? That would be superb for a first weekend to just, you know, solidify the strength of some of the rookie drivers in the field. And the other two aren't too far away either. We've still got Liam Browning and also Martin Piccolo, who's not too far away. He's about half a second off the back of Liam Browning. So this is the main fight to watch for, of course. There is Nick Grindrod pretty much just spread-eagling the field as he carries on. For second, though, here it comes. It's the move between the two Toyota Aigos, and Richard Bliss, Stuart Bliss swings in front and holds on. A bit of an interesting line across the exit of the chicane from Duncan Stone. Look at this, it's 2 by 2. 3, count them 4, is dare we say 5 for rest down towards Redgate Corner. Grindrod in the foreground goes on, but this is the scrap for second place. So this is literally best of the rest behind Nick Grindrod, and there's about 7 of them all together in this pack. This is second down to about 8th position as they dive up the inside. That was Duncan Stone on the back of Richard Bliss as he just about holds on. He elbows now up wide Liam Browning, who just about holds on. Oh, was that window smashing or something on somewhere on the side? There's something that either flew off or something broke on one of the cars I saw there. I wasn't quite sure what it was or anything. I think it might have been Martin Piccolo's driver's passenger window, I think. Because Martin Piccolo now has no glass on that passenger window, so I suspect that his window has disappeared. I think, yes, it has. It's gone. So there's quite a lot of glass in these cars, and whatever happened, it seemed to just smash either on its own or due to some contact.
Right, okay, well, a bit of weight saving maybe, I suppose. It won't affect his performance too much, hopefully. And again, wherever you look, there is side-by-side racing. Down into the old hairpin here, that is the number 3 car, actually fending off the 46, I think. That is number 3, Elliot Lettis, who does manage to hang on to what is 20th position. But the fighting back there is just as fierce as it is up here towards the front, and boy, is it fierce. This is a real step up, even from the entertaining racing we had in race number 1 earlier on this afternoon. Number 20 now moving in as well. That's Piccolo, isn't it? So you said he'd lost that window. He'd lost a few places as well, but he's starting to pick them back up again as they go down past the exhibition centre and into the chicane. That is Stuart Bliss running in second place. Is he escaping? Well, maybe a little bit, but I don't think he's going to stay that far ahead, because, of course, it's Ross McCarr now into third position. So McCarr is now in a podium place, and now he'll be after second place off the road, I'm afraid. That's number 43.
That's Paul Savage, I think.
Savage, yes. No, Brandon Savage. Brandon Savage. So there are a lot of family members sharing the track, aren't there? Yes. And yeah, Brandon, it is unfortunately. That's also at the old hair, but he's got off to the right-hand side of the road, though, rather than the left. So he gives a different group of marshals a bit of work to do.
And that was probably their classic running wide on the exit of the old hairpin, lose the back, drop a wheel onto the grass, and round the back into the cargoes moment. And it looks as though he has punched the wall. It's not too severe, thankfully. Now, what's interesting here, there'll be yellow flags at least through, if not on the exit of the old hairpin, because, of course, of the incident that's just happened. I don't think it's going to warrant a safety car, but they'll probably just cover that with wave yellows on the exit until they can get it properly against the barrier and out of harm's way. But whilst that's happening, we continue to watch this one. Ross McCarr really does fancy second place here. He's on the back of Stuart Bliss and trying to hassle him for a move here. It's Toyota versus Citroen as they turn their way up through McLean's, and Ross McCarr right on the rear bumper, probably giving his Stuart Bliss, if he's got one, a rear-facing camera, a nice shot of the front end of his car, saying, hello, remember me, knocking on the door to try and get through here, and he's right on the back, and he's almost practically touching the rear bumper. He is touching the rear bumper now. Next, McLean's puts 2 wheels onto the Coppice, puts 2 wheels onto the grass, and Stuart Bliss is really forcing the issue. That's a bit naughty, squeezing him onto the grass. Ross McCarr puts 2 wheels onto it, and look at Richard Bliss on the outside. It's almost as if Richard Bliss is thinking, right, you keep him at bay, I'll pass him down the outside, thank you, and away he goes. So Richard Bliss, rookie driver, driver is second in the road, and he gets past his sibling Stuart whilst he was defending Ross McCall. That's sensational. Also up into third place is Duncan Stone. Brilliant stuff from the City Car Cup in their second ever race. And yet again, Ross McCall trying to go down the inside Stuart Bliss. Oh, there's a bit of, oh, that's interesting. There's a bit of, I think that's a bit of handbags. Oh, steady boys, that's not really called for. These two get a bit frustrated.
Dear me, and Stone with a lunge as well. They've definitely found some bravery, haven't they, after race number 1, if that's what you want to call it anyway. But Stone with a real lunge into second place. Well, actually, he hasn't quite made it stick, has he? Because the Citroen hasn't quite moved ahead of the Toyota yet. Wheel to wheel down the hill. You've got, it's like Liam Browning, not far behind them either. He's in this group too. Down into the old hairpin, side by side. Citroen hops over the curbs, elbows the Toyota out wide. Over the grass goes Bliss, and this is going to open the door for the chasing pack as well. We're into what should be the penultimate lap of this race, I reckon. 2 minutes still to go. Up the hill they go once more, and it's getting a little bit physical. There's a bit of frustration, I think, and this could all boil over at any moment. Into McLean's, the group of cars is getting bigger by the corner. 2, 4, 6, 8 at least, maybe 9 of them, all on top of each other as they head towards Coppice Corner once more.
There's 3 abreast behind him. That was Martin Pickler, Tim Evans, and whoever that was. I think that was Andrew Dyer in the 15 car having a scrap towards the bottom of that. But you're absolutely right. It's the cars from 2nd down to 9th that are all together. And 10th place, not too far away, is Paul Toolan. He's 4th in the rookie category. A couple of the cars going past. Well, that's Joe Graham being chased down by Nick Grindrod, who is just probably singing to himself at the moment as he starts the final lap of the race. But for second, it really is anyone's guess. Duncan Stone throws it in 2nd place. Will he stay there by the time we get to this point at the end of this final lap as they come onto the pit straight? The Bliss siblings are together. It's currently Richard ahead. No, is it? It's Richard, Stuart ahead of Richard now, so they've changed around again. Oh, there was one car off in the background that I saw. That's one of the Toolans, I think, possibly Simon Toolan, I think, because Paul is in there in the silver and orange Citroen just at the back of this fantastic 2nd place battle. So this group then has, well, that was the group. There is Nick Grindrod just literally in a country mile ahead as he was in race 1. You can prove how experienced he is, but this is the fight we need to watch then for 2nd place. Duncan Stone has it, but the people that want it include Liam Browning and Ross McCarr and Stuart Bliss and Richard Bliss. They've all spread out a little bit. Andrew Dyer there in the Trade Price car delivery machine is up there. He's made a couple of spots past Tim Evans and Martin Pickler. So he's flying along at the moment in what is now, I think, 6th or 7th place he is. He crossed the line in 7th place. More battles further back we're looking at here. There's Simon Toolan. He's having a scrap with Nicholson and Stokes. And what's it? Oh, the camera to quickly pan around because something we thought was happening. Oh, that's off the road. That's Elliot Luthwaite, I think, off the road. Jamie Luthwaite off the road. I know Elliot did some racing with it last year when they were part of the City Club Sport Trophy. But some incredible stuff back and forth. And I almost fear what's going to happen. This is going to be quite a extremely tense final couple of corners here, I think. But Aspen in front coming out the fast chicane. No dramas at him at all, but it's going to be a perfect double for the man who really has been the class of the field. Nick Grindrod makes it a double in the opening championship rounds for the Nankai Thai City Car Cup. Now hold your breath, because what's going to happen for 2nd place down at the final chicane? They're going to arrive all together. Duncan Stone has it. They're all going to be line astern, I think. A bit of anticlimactic finish that we were expecting. But it's going to be a 1-2 for the Viking Van Breakers team. It's going to be a sprint to the line. These two still don't like each other on the sprint to the checkered flag. It's going to be 2nd place for Duncan Stone, 3rd for Liam Browning, a photo finish for 4th, which goes in the favour of Stuart Bliss by 25 thousandths of a second. And I think those two might have some conversations afterwards after that little door bang towards the end. They still come through the pack going through. We've got Simon Toolan ahead of, we've got as well in there Nicholson, Snuggs, William Burgess in the Mission Motorsport car coming home cleanly inside the top 20. He comes through in, where did he come through in? 18th position. Lettis and Selleck rounding up the top 20. But what can you say, Andy, other than this man has been simply dominant in the City Car Cup in this weekend in the opening round. He was in 2 races last year in the championship rounds, and I think the question is, if this is his pace at the beginning of the season, what's it going to be like at season end?
Yes, pretty tough to catch, although it will be fascinating if Nick is in for the full season to see how others, how they get closer to his pace, which I guess is what we hope to see. You know, Nick is almost a handy little benchmark for a grid then that's predominantly made up of significantly less experienced drivers, and so, you know, if they can get a bit closer to his pace, then maybe these winning margins might be smaller and smaller as the season goes on. But the one thing we can say is that even if he wins every race by a country mile, they're not going to be boring races because everyone else is very evenly matched. I mean, that titanic battle for 2nd, yes, the tempers boiled over on a couple of occasions, but it was still magnificent to watch, and it was, in the end, Duncan Stone that got the 2nd place, and Liam Browning, a rookie, on the podium overall. That is terrific racing from him, and he had to come back from, he wasn't in the lead of the class all race, was he? But he worked his way into the lead not long after the restart, and then took 3rd place overall from Stuart Bliss in 4th position. We'll have confirmation of that result in a moment or two. But that was an absolutely brilliant race and a great advert for the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup. If you're interested in joining in the fun, and I think some of you might well be, head to the BRSCC website, follow the links to the City Car Cup, and you can learn how you can get involved in racing in this wonderful new series. And it's probably, I would guess, one of, if not the most cost-effective way of going racing here in the UK, because you can pick up a donor car for relatively little money, and there are lots of teams out there that are hiring them out as well. So Nick Grindrod then takes the overall victory, with Duncan Stone in 2nd, Liam Browning is 3rd and wins in the novices, with Stuart Bliss in 4th, Ross McCarr 5th, Richard Bliss 6th after their titanic battle, and then it was Andrew Dyer next, ahead of Evans, Martin Piccolo and Doolan, with Dylan Brooks next. Tony Trotter was 12th, Doug Harvey 13th, Simon Toolan was 14th ahead of John Nicholson, then Richard Snuggs, Steve Laidlaw, William Burgess, Elliot Lettis and Daniel Selleck to round out the top 20. Then Craig Flynn, Jamie Luthwaite, Adam Reeves, Ashley Mitchell, David Christie 25th. Shout out to David Christie, not just because he's a fellow commentator, but he started 35th and gained 10 places, and he's not that experienced a racer, is David. 25th for him, then Paul Savage, Craig Carter, and the rest filing in behind. Sam Laidlaw there didn't really make much ground up, did he? Actually, 31st for him. Gareth Fredrickson was 32nd, then ahead it was Christopher McKenzie, Ben Walkingshaw, Joe Graham, whilst Brandon Savage, Andrew McKenzie and Patrick Booth were our 3 non-finishers. Brilliant racing that, and I can see Paul McCurlian from the BRSCC down in the pit lane giving a massive thumbs up to all of the drivers, and a well-deserved one as well, because they all put on a fantastic show. We were hoping that some of the drivers might stop at the end of pit lane for a quick chat, but they did this last time, didn't they? They went all the way down to the Parc Ferme, and we weren't, what we did eventually hear from them, but it all took a bit of time, so we'll see. We'll hang on for a minute or two. Just time for me to remind you that the BRSCC is back with its live stream programme in a week's time from Croft, where we've got Mazda MX-5s, Ford Fiestas, the BMW Compact Cup, all in action around one of the real hidden gems, actually, of British motorsport, the Croft circuit, up in the northeast of the country. So tune in on the BRSCC Facebook and YouTube pages for that one, and head to the website for more information about the other live stream events throughout the year, 17 in total, including this one. Also an opportunity for me to say my thanks to everyone involved in putting the meeting together. All of the officials at the BRSCC should be massively, massively proud of themselves. It's been a lot of hard work over the winter to put together their calendar of racing, some new championships, joining the club from elsewhere, and also some championships that are going through a real resurgence at the moment. So yeah, the hard work paying off behind the scenes. So to all of our championship coordinators and BRSCC officials, we thank you. And also thank you to the marshals, who have had quite a few incidents to deal with over the last 2 days. Your hard work is always massively appreciated, and we look forward to welcoming you back to the track again over the rest of the season. Also, thanks to everyone watching at home. As I say, I've been monitoring the chat on YouTube, and good to see some real discussion going on there. Hopefully, the BRSCC and its various championships have gained some new fans this weekend. If it has, then, as I say, head to the website for more information on where you can catch more of the racing. And we hope that we can welcome you back trackside in the very near future. That is obviously the plan. Within the next few weeks, we should be able to get spectators back at the circuits where you belong. But in the meantime, at least we can bring the action to you from the comfort of your own home. So that's pretty much it then. We're waiting for confirmation of whether we're going to have a chance to chat to our drivers. I think Scott Woodwis has marched on down to the Parc Ferme end of the pit lane, and maybe the drivers are going to be dragged around to have a quick chat with us. So we'll hang on for a moment or two and reflect further on what has been a thoroughly entertaining couple of days of racing here. Donington Park always does produce great action, and particularly I found with one-make racing, it is perfectly suited to one-make racing, this circuit, and the circuit, as you can see, looking absolutely splendid. Just a little bit empty of fans, but Donington Park, run by the Motorsport Vision Company, of course, these days, who also manage Brands Hatch, Alton Park, Snetterton, and the popular Bedford Autodrome, which is being used for track days and driving experiences for many a year. Motorsport Vision doing a good job with Donington, having taken ownership of the circuit a few years ago. And It's going to be hosting a number of BRSCC events throughout the year, always a popular venue, quite central, up near Derby and Leicestershire in the North East Midlands. So usually not a huge drive for teams and drivers to make their way here, and well worth the journey because it is such a driver's favourite circuit. This high-speed sweeping corners, lots of undulation, that particular sequence through the crane curves. I saw a picture actually the other day of what that part of the circuit used to look like back in the day. Of course, Donington Park, one of very few places in the world, actually, certainly in the UK, that was hosting motorsport before World War II, and it was a slightly different look to the circuit, but some of the corners, like Redgate and the Craner Curves, are all still the same. But I was looking at a picture, I think taken during the early 1980s, of that particular part of the circuit, and the concrete wall, which is right over to the right-hand side of the track, as you can see, it's barely in shot, used to run right down the side of the track, weaving down the hill, and spectators could get terrifyingly close, quite frankly, to the action. Thankfully, a bit more runoff area there, which was needed in a few of the races this weekend, when we've had cars and drivers get it wrong through that very, very tricky part of the circuit. Well, we were hanging on in the hope that we'd get to chat to some of our City Car Cup drivers, but I think they're taking a bit too long sharing all of their post-race stories. No, it's now I get told they are actually on their way. So we will hang on for a second longer and chat to our top three drivers, and Scott Woodwist will be waiting down either in the pit lane or the assembly area. It will be worth chatting to them because although Nick Grindrod doesn't have too many stories to tell after that race, apart from maybe what song he was listening to on the radio as he went along, certainly those behind him, Duncan Stone in second and Liam Browning in third, will have a few stories to tell. So let's head down to Scott then to talk to our final podium finishers of the weekend.
Yes, indeed. Incredible racing, and of course, particularly in that second race course. But one person who didn't quite see it was our double race winner, which is Nick Grindrod. So we'll bring him in, of course, here. Nick, once again, that was an incredible performance out of the front, and you pretty much just got out there and treated it like a Sunday drive in many cases. That was incredible.
I had to just treat it like a qualifying laps. I could see them. They was all just starting to line up, Crocodile, and then the safety car, and then I could see them all again, and I thought they're all going to start racing in a minute. If I can just get my head down and go. And fair play to the lads at the back. It looked like there was they all had a good tussle, but yeah, get my head down, and it's easy to, when they're all battling, just to get your head down and go, go, go.
I guess we have to ask the plan, is it to do the full season? And if so, we're going to see probably more dominant races like that, or you sort of got other commitments elsewhere?
No, it should be. My two sons are racing, so if none of them clash, which I don't think they do, we should do a full year. So hopefully, yeah, fingers crossed.
About 37 drivers started quaking in their boots here in that, I think. But if you do make it for the next round, hopefully we'll see you there, and I'm guessing more of the same, you hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the fingers crossed, but it is motorsport and you never know.
Well, congratulations this weekend. Well done for being the first ever championship race winner, so take your points home. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Good stuff. Let's bring in second place man Duncan Stone, and what do we say about that battle for second place? That was breathless from start to finish, but you managed to hold them off the last couple of laps and come out on top. So, yeah, and the smile on your face says it all. You look like you thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really did enjoy that. It was great, yeah. You know, I come from fourth. I come from 13th in the first race to get fourth in the first race, and then, to finish second is to finish my weekend off, really.
It's your first experience City Car Cup. I guess the verdict is all-round thumbs up?
Yeah, everyone should do it.
Good stuff. And I guess planning to do full season?
Full season, yeah. I'm running with Nick, so, you know, get a bit of tuition off him during the year as well, hopefully, and, you know, hopefully we can get a bit closer to him by the end of the year.
So Team 1-2, it's not bad for a first weekend, is it?
Not bad, is it? It's not bad.
Good stuff. We'll go and enjoy it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
And let's bring in our third place man overall and our Rookie Cup winner as well, Liam as well. Well, you were happy with the Rookie Cup win earlier on, but Rookie Cup win and an overall third place. I mean, you've driven superbly all day.
Yeah, that was mega. Just tried to keep with the front two boys. I know they're fast. Just literally sit on them. We had a massive tussle, bits of wing mirror flying everywhere. But yeah, got it done. Nice and close, hard. Let's see if we can do it next round.
Of course, you did a couple of races last year, of course, but you've really taken to the championship very quickly as a rookie driver. So I guess it just proves, as we talked about earlier on, how easy these cars are to pick up, and you've really taken to it quicker than others, it seems.
Yeah, that's it. So I done all 3 rounds last year, and the test day at the beginning of the year, obviously, went great. I liked the car, super grippy, great bunch of lads in the paddock, always helped me out. I found out after race 1 my suspension had fallen out, front right, so I managed to get the win still. I don't know how. Got in there, some people helped me out, got me all the bits. Great, you know. Nick and Duncan are just different levels, so let's try and catch them next round.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm sure that there'll be a few more people a bit closer next time, but I'm sure you'll be that with the front again. So well done for you 2 rookie wins. Go and enjoy them, and we'll see you next time.
That was for Owen and Kev. Cheers, lads.
Good stuff.
Thank you, mate.
And that's it. Incredible first weekend for the BRSCC. Lots of incredible, fantastic racing, and hopefully if you're watching at home you've all enjoyed it, and we've made some new fans out of you as well. So thank you also to Caterham, to Modified Ford, to the National Formula Ford, to the City Car Cup as well, to Amok, and also to Fun Cup as well for their brilliant race yesterday. If you want to find out all the info, please go to the website brscc.co.uk, and be sure to like the Facebook page and subscribe to YouTube and hit notifications on both, because it means when we go live next weekend at Croft, it's going to be absolutely amazing with some of the biggest and best championships that the club has to offer. If you thought that was good, we've got more coming up with Mazda MX-5s, Fiestas, BMWs, almost capacity entry for the Club Sport Trophy. It's going to be a mega weekend in North Yorkshire. If Andy wants to sign up in a second, I'm sure he will do, but from all of us here, from myself at least, I'm exhausted, but I'm Scott Woodward. Thank you so much for watching. If you have, BRSCC's back in action for 2021. It's looking like a mega year. Roll on Croft in 7 days' time. But until then, take care, and we'll see you very soon. Andy, back up to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Scott. Thanks for all of your hard work getting the interviews today. That, though, is it. All we have time for here at Donington Park. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the last 2 days of racing. And we'll see you again with some more BRSCC live streaming at Croft in a week's time. But for now, from myself, Andy McEwen, and Scott Woodward, it is goodbye.